Okay, well, speaking of restless natives, we are live. It's Saturday, the 5th of February, 2022, and that means that it's time for the Virtual Pipe Club. I am more or less the host today, David Dorian Ross, founder of the Virtual Pipe Club, and these are the fantastic gentlemen and perhaps ladies. I don't know if there's any who join us today. Say good afternoon, sir, gentlemen.
Hi.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello.
Now they're quiet. You should have heard them like 30 seconds ago. Like, anyway, it's that time again. We are also live streaming over to Facebook and YouTube. And I see 4 eyeballs at least watching today, so that's good news. If you're watching over there on Facebook and YouTube, pop us a line. Tell us where you're from and where you're watching from, and your name, and what you're smoking, and your social security number, and all of the date of birth, etc. Yes. As usual, we have a fantastic meeting lined up today. We've got a great guest speaker, Chris Barber from Edwin Pipes, and we'll explain all about where that comes from. Another new discovery on my part, suggested by one of our inner circle, David Martinez, who introduced us to him, and really looking forward to finding out more about him and sharing the pipes that he makes, etc., because he makes some amazingly good stuff. But first, what we're going to do is do our normal weekly ritual, circling the meeting room, finding out what everybody is smoking and what they're smoking it in. And to help us out with that, I'm going to turn over to my friend David, and because David and Miguel already arm wrestled this morning, and David won, so I'm going to turn it over to him, and he's going to help set everybody up and get us started. So, David, take it away, sir.
Miguel, do you think that since he woke up late, we should let Tim Heineck host today?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, go Tim.
Okay, well, welcome everybody to the Virtual Pipe Club. It's nice to see everybody today. We have some good things going on. We have a speaker and we have us, and we will be talking about pipes and tobaccos today as usual. So we're going to get started with the passing of the virtual pipe. And I think I noticed that with us today, I would like to welcome Tad Gage to the Virtual Pipe Club. Welcome, Tad. As many of you know, Tad is a very well-known tobacco reviewer, writer, wrote for Pipes and Tobaccos magazine, edited The Complete Smoker. I don't know if I have all that correct, Tad, but I wanted to welcome you to the Virtual Pipe Club. And would you start us off by telling us what you're smoking and what you're smoking it in?
Okay, well, this is different than my usual barling. Now, I'm sorry about the background, but I am smoking a Sheraton Selected that I've had for a long time. And Robert Long actually helped me fix up this the bit, because when I bought it, the bit was almost gone. It was one of those one-tooth pipers, and it had a hole in it, and he rebuilt the stem. So I adore this Sheraton, and I'm smoking 20-year-old Gold of Denmark McBaron tobacco, which is Burley, Virginia, I think a Burley, Virginia blend, and it's absolutely fabulous. 20 years have done very well by it. So not my usual barlings and not my usual tobaccos, but it's fantastic. So great to be here with y'all.
Tad, are you a fan of barlings? You mentioned that a few times. Are you a big fan?
Oh yes, I am. I mean, I have about 200 and pretty decent pre-transition collection. So yeah, it was Chuck Staniel was nice enough to do a little feature on me on smoking pipes a little while back, and yep, Barlings are kind of my thing, but I have Dunhills and Cheritons and a lot of American pipe makers too, Jim Cook and Brad Pullman and Adam Davidson. So I'm pretty eclectic, but the core of my collecting things for the last 30 years has been Barling pre-transitions.
Fantastic. Maybe at some point in the future, maybe you could give us a little talk on Barlings. So we could, for those of us who might be interested in them, that would be great. For those of us who don't know that much about it, it would be informative. So that'd be great if you could do that. So
I'd have fun with that. I would pale in comparison to Rich Esserman and his knowledge of pretty much everything, but I can try.
So at this point, Tad, what you would do is just like pick somebody in the gallery and pass the virtual pipe on to them.
I love Marek's background, so I'm going to pick Marek with the Orlick Golden Slice background.
Hello, everybody. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Can you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm smoking the Orlick Golden Slice, one of my three best vapors, I think. It's on the third place, I think, now. And it's a Polish-made pipe that I presented to you on the group. I think it's a Tadeusz Poliński. I think he's the very best Polish pipe maker. And this is also our club pipe for Lublin City. There's only 9 of us in 300,000 people city, you know. There's only 9 of us smoking a pipe consciously, you know. And the second pipe, I'll be loading the same author, the same pipe maker, Tadeusz Poliński. It is a sort of cherry wood shape. I'm not sure if you can see that. Not so good with that. Very beautiful. Quite a big pipe, and I'll be loading it with Rustica by, quite strong tobacco.
That's an awfully big pipe for Rustica.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna load it fully, probably halfway through, but I'll be having a lot of fun with it, and I'm passing a pipe to I'm looking for a guy, Dimitri, I think,
Thank you, Marek. By the way, really beautiful pipe. Speaking of Rustica, when I smoke it, I only load one flake into a pipe. I have high nicotine tolerance, but one flake of Rustica is enough even for me. And I have to say that it's great to have you with us. For many years, I was looking forward to your tobacco reviews in Pipes and Tobacco magazine. It just happened that your tobacco preferences are pretty close to mine. That's why I found your reviews are most useful for me personally.
Thank you, Dimitri. Thank you.
So I've been your great fan for many years. And, well, I'm starting with this pipe which I got for free. It's mystery wood, but it looks nice. It's small pipe, and I'm starting with Parkley number 15 from Colburn and Christie. And after that, I'm going to switch to this 120th anniversary E. Wilkins. And I'll be smoking this 2013 McClellan Rose of Latakia.
Boy, that's wonderful, Dimitri. I love Rose of Latakia. I have a bunch of tins. It's not well known, but congratulations on your excellent taste.
one of my favorite tobaccos of all time. The first time I tried it when it just came out, it was amazing and it still is. And I'll pass the pipe to David Klein.
Thank you, Dimitri. Good to see everybody again. Good to be here. And I'll make this quick. It's a Savinelli day for me, so I'm smoking my Savinelli 207 Tortuga. And in it, I'm smoking one of my favorites, a Scudo. It's kind of a reflection on that. And then after I'm done with that, I have my other Savinelli. It's Canadian. It's 804 KS. And in that one, I might finish off this tin. It's Cornell and Deal Da Vinci. So, anyway, good to be here. Gonna look forward to enjoying the program. And let's see, the next person I see on the list is Michael Schroeder. So we'll pass the pipe to Michael.
Thank you. I'm smoking a Peters and Barley 03 shape spigot, and I'm smoking good old small batch folklore. And turns out I actually kind of like it. Actually like it a lot. And I will pass the virtual pipe to David.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however you're in. I'm smoking my newest from Zuri Meerschaum, the Aaron. It's a long stem, not quite a church warden. And I got Captain Black Gold in that. And when I get done with that, I'm going to the 150th anniversary. And I got Peter Stoker B201. And I'll pass that to Perry Spiropoulos.
Thank you, David. This morning I'm smoking some McBaron's Vanilla Flake and an Il Seppo Dublin, fairly large pipe here. And this one is about 20 years old pipe, not the tobacco. And my wife got it for me early on, but anyway, I enjoy it. I've had it repaired a couple of times, and it's one of my favorite pipes. Today I'll probably only be on a short while. I've got to break and get ready for a birthday party, but I'm kind of looking forward to as much of today's show as I can grab. And with that, I'll pass the virtual pipe over to Ramachandran.
Thank you, sir. Greetings to you all. Today I am smoking from my Peterson System Spigot XL315, in which I am smoking CMD's small batches Carolina Red Sticks. And once I am through with it, I'll be smoking my Savinelli Auger 3 Series 320, in which I'll be smoking CMD's Havana Daydream. Now, with that, I pass it on to my friend Miguel.
Thank you, Ramachandran. I didn't know my hand was raised. So let's give, 1969 Dunhill with 137 empty canted Dunhill and Scottish mixture from McBaron. Let's pass the pipe to our friend Ken.
Thank you, Miguel. So I'm starting off the day with the highly sought after Peterson 4AB. It was really hard to get this one, sold out really fast. Ended up smoking some classic Dunhill 965. And then after that, I think I'm going to move on to this barley spigot. Now, I bought this from Mike Rizzo, and ordinarily it wouldn't be a shape that I would gravitate to initially, but I'm finding that I really like it. It's a little, it's kind of just not too big, not too small, a little on the small side, but it smokes really well, and I like the way it hangs with the little decanted forward. And in that, I'll probably put in some Virginia blend, like maybe Scotch Cake by McConnell's. Speaking of McConnell, let's welcome Sean McConnell for today's meeting. And Sean, what are you doing? What are you smoking, buddy?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you now.
There we go. All right. So for Christmas, my daughter. I can't see myself on the screen. My computer all messed up.
We can see you, Sean.
Okay, very good. All right, so I got a TD Scotland replica clay pipe. And in that, some Sir Walter Raleigh, because let's get some of the old blends in an old-looking pipe. All pipes that are gifted to you are meant to be smoked, so I'm enjoying it. It's a little different. The draw is very small compared to my other pipes, so it definitely smokes a little differently. And when I'm finished with that, some G&H Louisiana Flake and an XL02 Peterson, and this is the Peretti 150th year anniversary pump. And with that, let's see, I see David's hand up. Yours already went in.
And anybody who hasn't gone and would like to go, please raise your hand.
Michael Tan, sir, what do you got going on?
That's me. Nice to see you guys. I'm smoking my Tekken Mershon, and I've got some well-aged plum pudding bourbon barrel tobacco in there. Started aging it January 29th of this year, so hopefully it's melted a bit. And great seeing everybody again. Then let's pass the pipe over to Darkhan. I'm always interested in what he has to say.
Appreciate that, my friend. Today is nothing really new. It's pipes I had on before. I wish I had a longer pipe collection to put a new one every day. But it's my Savinelli 311 KS. And in it, I'm smoking some Windjammer by GLPs. And after that, I'm gonna smoke my old Bones pipe. I'm gonna smoke the M4 State Virginia. And with that, I'll pass the pipe to, let's see, David Heinrich.
Hey everybody. Just woke up after a long night at work, so I'm behind on the game lined up. It's my Janos Kokonos, Bamboo Poker, and some OGS. And I haven't decided what I'm going to smoke for another pipe, but I'm just going to stick with Orla Gold and Slade because that's how I feel today. So thanks for being here, and I'm glad I got to be here. Who's next here? David Johnson, have you gone yet?
Yes, I have. Hey, Dave, before you go, can you show that pipe again?
Yeah, sure. Here you go.
Oh, pretty.
Yeah, I like it. Our friend Janos made it for me, so it's pretty special to me. It's my favorite pipe.
Oh,
Anyway.
Janos makes a great pipe.
He sure
Sorry,
does.
I just had to see that great bamboo shag.
I don't think we've heard from Ian Reed yet.
Yeah, hi. I've got the club pipe. I like it. It's going quite brown. I guess you might be able to see that. And in it, I've got some Dunhill Flake, which is quickly becoming my favorite, I think. I'll pass it on to Glenn.
Hi, Ian. Thank you very much. The tobacco for today is a 1999 vintage Hermit Works pressed Syrian cake. 99 is 22 years old, and it's been kept in a humidor, so it's nice. And I'm putting it in a recently restored Sassini 774 billiard. got an interesting rustication to it. Kind of a, I think it's actually was deeper and is worn flat by the previous owner, but it's restored, cleaned up, and it smokes great. And I'll pass it on to Little Fat Morgan.
I can't stay too long. My phone's about ready to die. I just wanted to share with you guys. I did 103 subs today or yesterday. I went away and still to make up a giveaway.
What, baby?
But I got
What?
So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Okay, Ken can be the next one.
Hello. Glad to see every one of you from around the world at this time. I'm smoking my custom built. Have something in common with Tad today. Got a square shank and a saddle bit, and that's about the only similarities there. And when I get done with that one, I will be filling up my Brigham Mountaineer 329. They sometimes called it a Prince shape. Other times they called it a bent brandy. I think both would fit. And I'll have some Aaron Moore in that. I don't see any electronic hands. I see Bud now. And
We got the
I
president of California, Hollywood, Beverly Hills.
That's right. Handed it over to the prez. Go ahead, Bud.
Hey, how you guys doing? Yeah, it's a very sunny, pretty nice mild day today in San Diego area, and I'm smoking the club pipe with some GLP's Cumberland 20th anniversary, which is a really nice, I think, Oriental forward. You know what I mean? And I earlier was finished off a Scorty business pipe with some Plateau of Ling, which is an English blend from Ken Byron. And I don't see any other hands raised either. I was trying to look to see if I knew anybody. So maybe David, you can help me out.
Yeah, we got several like Patrick
John
Grant.
Christopher Sharp.
We got several like Patrick
Put your
Grant.
hand up.
Dennis and John.
Hi, can you hear me?
Chris,
Hi, guys. I just wanted to come on live and say hello. It's been a couple of weeks. Nothing new on the pipe and tobacco front, but I just had a quick question on housekeeping. Considering it's a Facebook group, do you guys prefer to be friended, or do you just like to be messaged, or what's the protocol to, talk to folks offline? Is there a preference for you guys on the admin front?
I don't know if we have any specific rule for that. People just message me and I just do it that way.
Okay, I just didn't, I had no clue,
Yeah, I would say that we leave that more or less up to the individual. So one of the great things about being a part of a community is that you have the opportunity to message people, but so you can message people from the group and then they can go, I don't really do that. I don't really add people. Or they can say, dude, I'd love to, maybe we can, hang out and smoke in between the weeks or whatever. Like, so I would just go ahead and shake a hand.
I'm like open, I have an account for like sort of randos, anyways, not that you guys are, but just saying that, because obviously, with the meetings, you can't talk about everything, but you're sometimes you're like, well, I want to talk about this with this person just because.
Yeah, listen, you guys know that you'll rarely find somebody as random as I, and I have plenty of friends, so I think that'll work as well. Listen, I am going to do that thing I talked about where I say, let's save the rest of the housekeeping and the sharing for next week. so that I can introduce our guest speaker. And actually, Chris, I think that's a great question to wrap that up with, because it speaks to friends, right? And that will give me a good segue to introducing a brand new friend to the Virtual Pipe Club and to the meeting. And by the way, somebody commented over there on our live streaming group that they hear something, sounds like somebody stapling. That's my dog chewing on a bone, which I gave to her so she wouldn't bark throughout the whole meeting. So I'm going to turn my microphone off when I turn it over to our guest speaker here, so you don't hear that. So very often our guest speakers are suggested by you guys who are in the club, or those of you who are watching over there on the live stream. Many of them by our, I can't say enough about them, the great group of moderators that we have. Tim Heineck, and in this case, David Martinez, who introduced me and suggested the gentleman today, Chris Barber. And I had met Chris before, I didn't know about him, so the first thing I do is I go online and say, like, what's this guy doing? I came across his website, and it blew my mind. Just absolutely fantastic. I am, as many of you know, drawn to specific kinds of shapes that are pushing the artistic envelope, just because that's just me and my aesthetic. And what I found on Chris's website were plenty of very classic and close to classic kind of shapes, but just a huge gallery of amazing pipes, amazing artwork. So I'm really excited about introducing him, getting to know him a little bit better, and if you wouldn't mind welcoming our guest speaker today, Chris. Say hello.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Hi, Chris.
Welcome.
Actually, thank you. Well, I don't quite know what to say. This is the second time I've done a meeting like this. The first time was with a group with a Spanish translator, a great group of guys, just about 2 weeks ago. And so I don't know what your format is like, but I'm flexible. So if you want me to talk, I can talk, or if you want to just shoot questions at me.
Because it's just so cliche, but in your case, I think it's really set some good foundation for us. How and when and why did you start making pipes?
Okay. Must have been like 2010, something like that. I saw a pipe, and I wish I knew who the maker was, but it was a artisan. It might have been Adam Rennington, who I'm not sure if he's still making pipes, but he made some beautiful pipes, and I think it was one of his that I saw that just blew my mind. You know, I had never seen the contrast stain on a pipe before, and I had never seen the kind of lines that he used, and it just really intrigued me. And so I spent the next couple of months just devouring all the pipes that I could see online, and I just got hit with the bug hard and fast. And shortly after that, I started buying pipes online that were run down and old and misused. And I started refurbishing them just in my basement and reselling them on eBay, which paid for a lot of the a lot of the tools in my shop right now. And I did that for a couple of years. And one day I decided I'm just going to try to make a pipe. So I bought a block of briar and made a pipe, and I sold it. And after that, I never refurbished another pipe again. And from there, each new pipe just kind of led me further and further down my road until it's really been in the last year, I would say, I'm kind of finding my form, my style, and my niche. So that's kind of a 10-year span in a nutshell, anyway.
That's a very quick span there. So let me ask you this question. You're so elegant, I guess is the word I want to use, in your shaping and crafting. Did you have a woodworking background before?
Actually, I didn't, but I've always had that artistic flair. And I don't know whether I would consider myself a pipe carver or an artist, but I think I've got that in equal measure anyway. I really am drawn to pipes that have their own character and their own flair. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of beautiful classic shapes out there and a lot of beautiful classic pipes. But the pipes that I personally am drawn to are like you, a little more on the artistic side and have a kind of an individualistic flair of their own.
That leads me to this. Maybe this will spark some memories for you that you can share with us. When you started to learn about pipes and buy some pipes for yourself, who were some of the carvers that you liked and have maybe been an inspiration for you?
The first pipe I ever made was a bent apple, and it was based on one of Jeff Grace's J. Allen pipe. And I remember going back onto his website and kind of scouring his photos and trying to mimic, the beautiful grace of his pipes, as a first-time carver. And you get stumped when you're a beginning carver trying to copy a J. Allen pipe. But he was really maybe the first one that I really tried to emulate. And then there was Adam Remington, and let's see. It's been so long that there was a period there where what I was doing is just going and finding a pipe that would speak to me, and then trying to recreate that. And I did that for a full couple of years.
I have to keep going back and forth with our microphones so I don't, cause too much chaos. Do you have any particular shapes that are your favorite shapes? Do you prefer to smoke your own pipes, for example?
Well, I wouldn't say I prefer, but I use smoking a lot of my own pipes because I have a lot of my own pipes. If the one that I'm on right now is one of my own, it's a church warden. It's kind of a globe shape. Let's see, where is the camera? There we are. You can see it's got a cradle there. And what you can't see is there's a little flaw in the briar right here. And so this one I ended up just hanging on to and not selling. But I've got a Daniel Mustrin here. And I've got a couple Savinellis. I've got a couple Dunhills and a few others. But if I screw up a pipe, which happens, then it ends up in my collection. So just by default, I have a few of my own that I smoke a lot.
For
Chris,
those,
I have a question.
yeah, Tim, why don't you go ahead there?
You go under the title of Edwin Pipes,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm curious, where did that name come from?
A good question. Edwin is my middle name.
Okay.
And I never liked it. And when I started making pipes and it started to look like I could sell some, I needed a name to put on them. And so I thought Edwin sounded a lot classier than Chris. What I always say is a Chris pipe sounds like something you would put soapy water in and blow bubbles out of. But Edwin pipes sounds a little classier. So I just went with that.
Awesome. Can you tell us like some of the tools that you use? I mean, are you mostly like a freehand pipe shaper, or do you use, I mean, I know you probably use the lathe and what to do the drilling and stuff. But what are some of the tools that you kind of use in your approach?
Yeah. Most of it is really the sanding disc. I've got a 6-inch J. Allen sanding disc that does 90% of the work for me. And then the Fordham or the Dremel on some of the more detailed pieces that can't be done. So, for example, the detail in some of the corner areas here needs to be done either by hand or with a Dremel. And that's almost 100%, and then after that, of course, there's just a ton of hand sanding. But what I do is pretty freehand, kind of eyeball to make the lines right. But the sanding disc is really it for me.
It's hard to control pets. It really is. I have a cat that was sitting on my chair a little while ago. She can sit in every square inch of the house she wants, but she had to pick my chair, so it was a little bit of a battle there.
I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, is there any part of the pipe where you look forward most to making? And kind of a two-part question. What part of the pipe is one that you're like, oh, I got to do that again, or,
Yeah, that's a great question. The wood part of the pipe making the briar really came easy for me. And so originally that was the funnest part for me because I right off the bat, I found that I was able to do that well. And I struggled with the button because it's just harder. It takes a lot more work. It takes a lot more experience to make a really good button. And so that wasn't my favorite part of the process originally, but as I improved, I became proud of my stem work and what I was able to do with the button. So later, the stem became my favorite. And I think that's carried over to the accents that I'll put on the stem. And so this pipe, with the accent and the ebonite stem here, I think I've become proudest of that in my pipes. And so it's changed from the briar over to the ebonite is really my favorite part of the pipe these days.
Hey, Chris, interesting thing. I did an article for Pipes and Tobaccos years ago on stems. And, I talked to Ronnie Bickscan, I talked to Adam Davidson, Jeff Graysick. And, the interesting thing is Graysick told me that it takes him just about as long to make a good stem for his pipes as it does to make the entire stummel. And I thought that was interesting because I'm a big stem guy. I mean, I love a well-made button and a comfortable stem. And, I just thought that was interesting. And I didn't doubt it at all because there is so much work there in that stem. So kudos to you for, for really following through and working on those stems.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it really is. And the thing for my pipes, I make a lot of long stems. And if there's something that's not right with the lines on a long stem, you can see it right off the bat. If there's a tiny flaw with one of the lines, on a shorter section of the stem, it might not be as obvious. But if the line is off on the long stem, your eye flows down that and hits that flaw, and it just jumps out at you. And so I think it's really important. A lot more work and a lot more time goes into the stem. It just has to.
Yeah, and just one more thing. I know when I judged the Kansas City pipe makers contest that Quentin Wells put on, and I did that for a number of years with Greg Pease and George Debose. And, most of the time, the pipe, we kind of weeded through the pipes, and the primary thing that kind of knocked out pipes was the stem work. They were wavy, or They didn't quite fit properly into the stumble. You know, that's kind of how we did. I won't say disqualified, but yeah, we did disqualify the pipes
Yeah.
from being in that 7-day set that we did for Kansas City. It was all about the stems. You know, there were some beautiful stumbles, and you know, we were going over them, and it was like, oh boy, you know, this bit just it's not working. You know, whether it's the mortise tenon fit or
Right.
just yeah, like you said, the angle of the stem, that's the toughest thing of all.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing I really strive to do with Edwin pipes is make a stem that is unique for that stumble. You know, you walk through a pipe show and you look at thousands and thousands of pipes, and so many times you see a stumble that is just gorgeous attached to a stem that is just gorgeous, but together they don't make an entire kind of cohesive unit. And I'm sorry to keep showing you the same pipe, but it's the only one that I have in stock right now. But one thing I really strive to do is make a stem that belongs to this stem. And so holistically, it's all one pipe. So if you were to take this stem off and put it on another pipe, it would look a little awkward. It would look out of place. But together in an Edwin
Flipper,
pipe,
is this
this one is a dragon, actually.
the dragon?
Yeah. Let's see here. And so what I've attempted to do, there we go,
That's so beautiful.
is make all the lines flow. So this line is going to flow, and this line is going to flow, and this line, and this line, and this line. And then from bow to stern, the entire pipe is going to flow. All the lines should flow together, and just keep the lines. So it's very pleasing to the eye when you span the pipe all the way up and down. So, and this is a shape that I came up with. I call it my dragon shape. And I've made a couple of these with bamboo stems. And I've been experimenting lately with fading the colors. So I don't know if you can see that, but it starts out a little darker around the edges.
Yeah.
And it gets brighter. It gets the bird's eye to pop a little bit toward the middle of the surface. There, can you see that? And that's been really popular.
Yeah, you know, just another interesting thing is we've talked on other groups and things with you know, some really great pipe makers and pipe restorers, and I have to say, I think I don't know how many of you guys know of Ronnie Bickascan or George Debose, but I mean, they're probably the two best restorers in the world at this point. But you know, it was interesting because George, I had a Baldy pipe, and you know, it was lovely. The first time I got it from Marty Pulvers, the first time I took it apart, the tenon cracked and stayed in the pipe, which is typical of Baldy's pipes because he didn't use the best acrylic. So I sent it off to George. He made a German ebonite stem for it that was truly better. It was very reminiscent of the stem that Baldy did, but it was better. And of course, it's also vulcanite, which I happen to prefer. And you know, it's just amazing the difference. And I know George has done, like he did several pipes for Fred Hanna, some Sheratons that just had, the stems were just not quite right. They weren't quite balanced. You just looked at that pipe and these were Sheraton Supremes, you know, so they were really nice pipes, you know, but but after George redid the stems, maybe lengthened them just a little bit, put a little bit more bend on them, you were like, oh, there's no comparison. This is the stem that this pipe should have had. So, Chris, I
Yes,
really
yeah.
admire your attention to that, because stems are so important on the look of
Yeah.
the pipe.
Yeah, well, thank you. And sometimes it doesn't take much. Just the tiniest tweak can really change the character of the stem and the whole pipe. Like you said, just a little more of a curve, or maybe a quarter inch longer. And it doesn't sound like much, but holistically, over the whole pipe, it can just make the correction that's required. And I would watch some of George's videos years and years ago when I was learning how to make a button. And it was a big help for me personally to kind of get that squared away.
Yeah, they're great videos. I mean, any of you guys that want to, just get a little bit of dose of pipe making, pipe restoring, stem making, they're on YouTube. They're a little hard to find, but find them because they're wonderful.
Speaking of videos on YouTube, there's one where Former makes a billiard. I think that's the title of it on YouTube. And he basically goes through the whole process from the stummel to the stem. And I think it's about maybe a half an hour video, 45-minute video or something like that. But I think and it's speeded up in a lot of places. But I think you'll be very intrigued by seeing the amount of work and filing and everything that goes into a stem. And a lot of it is very, very tedious work. It's getting down to those very, very minimal tolerances. It's just an excellent video to watch by, one of the best pipe makers in the world.
Yeah, Jeff Graysick has some really good videos on stem work also.
So do you make the stem first, or do you make the wooden part first?
I make the bowl and the stummel first. And,
since we're on this topic, are you in your studio right now?
I am.
Would you? Well, we'd love a tour, and maybe you could talk a little bit about your process as you're walking around.
Okay. I've got a pole barn, a 30 foot by 40 foot building that I sectioned off. And this right here is about a 22 by 16 foot shop that I separated from the garage. Can you hear me when I turn the microphone away?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the entrance. I'll stand at the entrance here and kind of pan around. I used to be a competitive cyclist in Europe, and so this corner of the shop is still devoted to bicycles. And you can see there's me in my glory days back as a young man. But as far as the order of events, I've got some of my briars stored down here, the older stuff here, and the newer stuff. First thing up is cut the block on the bandsaw. And after that, I'll come over here to the sanding wheel I was talking about. And I've got my dust collection. There's a slot cutter. Once I start the stem, I've got my lathe over here. Sandblasting unit here. So I'm not able to see the screen when I hold the computer this way. So I hope that's you're getting an idea anyway.
Yeah, Chris, the only thing
I like
that I want you to
bottle
do,
of wine there is an important part of the pipe process.
Very important. Yeah.
Chris, the only thing that I want you to do is to linger more on some of these tools and things, so that we can get a good long view of it, and then you could just talk story about it.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of this stuff I was able to purchase after refurbing pipes. And so I would, just get these used at garage sales. This is a drill press, which is a hand-me-down from my dad. See, we've got a 6-inch snowfall outside.
The dust collection is impressive.
You too.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I just said your dust collection is impressive, coming from someone who's
yeah.
this.
Yeah. And I've got the filter up at the top as well. So.
Is it my imagination, or is that the cleanest shop I have ever seen in my life there?
Well, you can see there's some garbage on the floor anyway. This is
No,
where
David,
most of the
compared to
work
my
happened.
garage.
David, you're right. That is one of the cleanest shops you'll ever see, and that is a beautiful shop, actually.
You don't have a little garbage on the floor, you're not trying.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I passed over the buffing station here. I kind of whipped that up. And
Lift that up a little bit, Chris.
I'm sorry?
Lift it up. There you go, right there, right there.
Oh, that's beautiful. You got your Tripoli, you've got your wax buffers.
Yep. There's Tripoli, white diamond, and carnauba wax. And of course, what shop wouldn't be complete without the tunes and the subwoofer, of course.
Of course.
Excellent.
This is my ski wax and stuff. I'm training for a ski race in a couple of weeks, so.
This is so impressive. Chris, would you talk to us a little bit about, so walk us through Chris is going into the shop in the morning to make a new pipe. Right? So you walk in, and what's the first thing that you'll do, and then how does it proceed from there?
Okay, if I'm starting a new pipe, usually what happens is I start with a concept sketch. And I know there's a lot of different ways of starting and coming up, but for me, I'll start with a concept sketch. Just an idea of what I want the end product to look like. Then, I'll search for a block of briar that has the appropriate grain for that shape. And I will sketch it up. This is going to be one of my elephant shield shape. And I call it an elephant shield shape because it's just my take on an elephant's foot. It's an elephant's foot, but the front of it looks like a shield. So, elephant shield. So I'll draw that shape out on the block. Then I'll take it over to the bandsaw and cut out the rough piece. And then I'll take it over to the sanding disc with the real rough grit, 60 grit or something like that, and just start hewing away at it. And then I've got a number of different discs that I'll change out. I'll get finer and finer grits as I get closer and closer to the final shape. Eventually, for some of the detail work, then I'll have to use the Dremel tool. And eventually, beyond the Dremel tool, there's just a ton of hand sanding. Before I get to that, I will start on the stem because I want to make sure that the lines flow together. So I'll get this shape fairly well finished, but I will leave this part of it until I have some semblance of the stem kind of worked out. There's a lot of gluing involved with adding the stem accent piece. That'll take a day to cure. But then once I have the Delrin put in and the accent piece glued on, I'll put them together. And then at that point, I can start forming the lines between the two. If I were to do one before the other, it could end up a little discombobulated. So I like to do them together.
Chris, it's a little hard to see on the video, but where does the stem actually insert into the stummel there on this pipe?
What's nice about the accent piece is a lot of times it gives you something a little bit to grab onto.
Oh.
Oh, there we go.
Wow.
And I always use Delrin in mine.
That's seamless.
Yeah, this one turned out really good. I'm making bear with me, I'm making a stand for this one. Every once in a while, the customer will ask for a display stand. And I don't always like to make them, but they're attention grabbers.
That one you posted on January 11th, it's like the red and black contrast.
Oh yeah.
With the stand, it looks like one of the like aliens that's chasing Sigourney Weaver around.
Yeah.
It's so amazing.
All right. So this is pretty funky. Whoops. Concentrating so much on what I'm seeing on the screen that there it is.
Beautiful.
That's the elegance that DDR was talking about right there.
And I wish the camera would show the grain. This block of briar that is the base here has just got lovely bird's eye here and some wonderful straight grain down below. And then the accent wood that I'm using, I've been using Bacote a lot because of its natural color. You don't have to stain the Bacote. That's a tan and black there.
And the top one is kind of like olive.
This and this are Bacote, and then this is briar, and then of course this is just ebonite that I've used. So
Where is Bacote from, Chris?
the Bacote that I get comes from Mexico, and I use it on just a ton of my pipes. I love it because it's pretty tough, and another stem accent I do is just kind of a simple ring, and I like to surround it with a white faux ivory, or I've got some muskox horn that's beautiful. It kind of makes the Bacote pop a little bit. And the camera's not really getting it, but the grain is just beautiful. It's got that black and tan color that I just adore.
Curious about how many man hours does it take to do one of your pipes?
I'm working about a 40-hour week in the shop right now. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. I'm getting about between 1.5 and 2 pipes a week done now. So it takes a long time. It takes me a long time anyway. There's a lot of hand sanding, and there's a lot of places on my shapes that I cannot use electric tools. You just got to work it with, sanding. And it's meticulous and it's boring and it's time consuming, but it's worth it in the end.
Just maybe as a personal meditation on this, what is keeping you going right now? I mean, like for a lot of people, no one that I have met on this show who is a carver has said they're doing it for the money, because it's a slow return on investment. So there's another part of you that's being fed by this, and what is it that keeps you going in the shop 40 hours a week?
Yeah, well, the bottom line is I love it, and I'm really excited about the directions my pipes have gone, specifically in the last year. It's been very, very rewarding for me. I don't know how much of my backstory you know of just these last couple of years, but about 4 years ago, I left corporate America and moved up to northern Minnesota in the Superior National Forest. I'm about 30 miles away from the Canadian border, right on Lake Superior. And for about 4 years, I was working as a kayak guide on Lake Superior. I just checked out of corporate America, and I was still making my pipes on the side. So I was doing the kayaking thing for about 4 years. And this past September, I left that. Now I'm just doing pipes full time. And I'm working less and earning more. And so it's going well for me. So
Nice.
that's kind of where it's at now.
Who's watching us over on the live stream? First of all, Paul the Piper, I want to give you a shout out. over in the UK has volunteered to help us moderate the YouTube channel, and with all the buttons that I'm pushing on this side over here, that's a huge help. So thanks, Paul, a lot. But if you've got questions for the folks who are watching on Facebook and YouTube, post them in the comment section here, and I'll pass them along to Chris. But let me toss it back to the guys in the Zoom room to any questions that you have for Chris at this time.
Addy's been waiting forever. Politely.
Hey Chris, I was wondering where you, what's your favorite place to source your rod blanks or your stems and stuff?
I go pretty much exclusively through Steve Norris at Vermont Freehand.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yep. Back when we were doing the Chicago Pipe Show, I would just buy some there because I thought there might be value in seeing what I was buying first. But as far as rod stock goes, they're all pretty much the same. So, I mean, there are different kinds. There's the Japanese and the New York and the NYH and whatnot. But if you're buying the same stuff, I don't think there's any value to seeing what you're getting first. If I put an order into Steve, I'll get good stock.
Chris, got a question. You said that you smoke your own pipes.
Yeah.
You also indicated that you had some others. I'd like to know what got you into pipes. When did you pick up the pipe? When did you first smoke a pipe? Why did you first smoke a pipe? What got you interested in pipe smoking, and what carried you on? Like, is it a habit? Is it a hobby? Is it a comfort? Or what is it that? When did you first smoke a pipe, and what kind of steer, you didn't steer into cigars, you didn't steer into cigarettes, you just stayed with the pipe, what kind of precipitated that?
Yeah, great questions. My first experience with really becoming intrigued with pipe smoke is when I was living in Germany. I was there living in the Bavarian Alps. I was working as a ski instructor in the winter and a whitewater rafting guide in the summer. And I was at a friend's house. He was having a party, and there were a number of people there. And there was a gentleman smoking a pipe there. And the room note, to this day, I don't know what he was smoking, but the room note was glorious. And I thought, man, that's it. I'm going to start smoking a pipe. And so I had another buddy who I knew had a pipe and some tobacco. And so he loaned me his pipe. It was probably some horrible piece from his father's collection, and he wasn't a regular smoker, and so it was probably stale tobacco. And so he loaned me the pipe and the tobacco, and I lit it up, and it was horrible. So I thought, I can't do this. It's much nicer having somebody else in the room smoking for you than it is to actually go through this. And so I put the pipe down, and I never picked it up again for, I would say, 4 or 5 years, until after I was back in the United States. And I was at a buddy's cabin, and he was a little more pipe savvy, and he lit up his pipe. And he let me just take a puff out of it. It was a nice pipe. It was good, well-kept tobacco. And it was just a transformative experience. It couldn't have been more different than the first time I tried it. And it really nails the point home, how big of a difference a good pipe can make. And that is really the experience that whet my appetite for pipe smoking. And so it was probably shortly after that when I saw the pipe that really turned my head. The beautiful Adam Remington pipe that kind of started the whole ball rolling.
Do you still like smoking aromatics, or you have any specific favorites?
Right now I've got my Frog Morton going. And After that, I might go with a Boswell Northwoods. I started smoking that because I live in the Northwoods and I thought it would be fun to be smoking Northwoods, and it turned out to be pretty good. I do like some aromatics if they're not too sweet. And so I've got some cherry Cavendish that's mild and not very sweet at all. I like that every now and again. But I would have to say I reach for the Frogmorton most of the time.
Please share how many tins you have.
Nice.
Well, I've got a lot of these kind of storage bins.
And can you pin your shop on Google Maps?
Well, I meant more your Frogmorton collection, extensive collection.
Yeah, that's a head turner. Yeah, I'm getting down there. I've got, I should check. I've got one more after this. This one's almost full now. And I don't smoke a ton, maybe 2 or 3 bowls a week. And I find it 2 things. It's very comforting and very relaxing and a great time to just be contemplative. And it's also very social. I've turned a lot of my good buddies onto pipe smoking. And so when they come over, it's something we do together over a scotch.
Oh, nice.
There's something nice about the ritual. Yeah.
I got a quick question.
Mancha.
I noticed a lot of your pipes seem to be like very unique and they almost look fragile if you didn't know anything about pipes. I was wondering, at what stage did you get the confidence to where you could send a pipe out for maybe a couple $100 and you just knew it wasn't going to fall to pieces on the customer?
Good question. For a long time, I was making shorter pipes that are just stouter. And I think through the years, my pipes have become a little more refined and, for lack of a better word, more delicate. That's not to say they're fragile, because I don't think they are. I mean, the materials are very robust. But through the years, they become more and more refined, more sophisticated. And so I don't know if there was really any one point of time that it's like, okay, now I feel confident, but just the familiarity of working with the materials and knowing that this is a solid pipe, this is not going to give somebody any trouble. Through the years, that has just come. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Because like I'm interested in making pipes, but I'm like, I don't really have the confidence. Like, would I send this to somebody and actually sell it to them? You know?
Yeah. I really wouldn't worry so much about the fragility, at least not if you're using ebonite. And of course, some of the ways and means that you glue things together, there are ways to do it so it holds stronger and that sort of thing. And that information is out there, and a lot of people are happy to share that information. So I would say, if you have questions, reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Pipe Makers Forum is just a great wealth of information with all kinds of pipe makers that have questions, that run these questions past each other constantly. And
Chris, do you have any mentors that you're currently working with, or other pipe collaborators that you hang out with?
I don't actually. I kind of meet up with the same group of people every time I'm at the Chicago Pipe Show. I love to see Jeff Gracek from JL and Pipes. He's a cyclist also, and so we have that in common. So it's kind of fun to talk to Jeff. Who else? Dirk Heinemann is one, because he's German, and I get to practice my German with him. Jeremiah Sandel is another Minnesotan, and so it's kind of fun to bump into him. And there's a couple others. Zach Hamrick is a cyclist also. So there's this kind of small group of cyclist pipe carvers that are out there. That's a small niche.
I'm a cyclist as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Road.
Chris,
That the Chicago Pipe Show is is on the calendar anyway. Are you planning on going this year?
I haven't decided. It's going to be in May, isn't it? Toward the end of May. Did I hear that right?
I'd have to check.
27th to 29th of May.
Yeah. I'd like to go. Here's the problem. I can't keep any pipes in stock. So as quickly as I can make one, I'm selling them now. So that's another good problem to have. And so I probably would not go if I didn't have some pipes to bring. Yet at the same time, I think the real value in the Chicago Pipe Show for me is kind of schmoozing with some of the other collectors and some of the other carvers. So the shorter answer is I don't know yet.
That's just, nope, not a problem.
Yeah.
We had a question over here on the live stream group about where to see your pipes, and I gave them your website, but do you also have an Instagram channel that you post some of your pictures on?
Yeah, both Facebook and Instagram are really the best ways. I do have a website, but I haven't really paid any attention to the website in years. So I keep it up to kind of have my contact information online. But my most recent stuff will always get posted on Instagram and on Facebook.
And what's your Instagram? What's your Instagram handle?
Edwin Pipes.
You guys have in the group there? Just go ahead and throw them out too, because I have another topic that I want to introduce, but I'm going to wait until you guys finish your questions.
Chris, I just wanted to know one thing. You just now mentioned some time ago that you start with the concept of a pipe shape in mind. You draw it on your rough sketch, and then you look around for a briar. Have you ever come across a situation where it's a reverse? On looking at a briar block, you suddenly, looking at the grain, you suddenly imagine, this particular kind of a pipe should ideally go with this, and work from that point. The other way around.
Yeah, great question. Usually I don't change. I don't need to change the shape after I start, because the grain is one of the first things I will look at when deciding which block. And so I will orient the shape of the pipe to suit the grain that is on the block, if that makes sense. So for this one I showed you earlier, for example, it's going to be an elephant's foot, and the grain starts out wide here and comes down narrow right here. So this is where I'm going to put the stem, because it's very pleasing to the eye to have that stem narrowed and all of the grain coming right out to where it meets the ebonite. Do you follow me?
Yeah, I'm getting it.
So yeah, I will adjust both the shape and the orientation of the pipe depending on what the grain is showing me. So because of that, usually I don't have to shift gears in the middle of the process and change. Instead, what might happen is I will discover that, so if I drill the tobacco chamber here, and the back of the pipe is here, if I want to put a little accent shape, a little accent curve, what that might show me is maybe that wall is getting a little thinner than I like. At that point, I might shift gears and say, oh, okay, I'm going to change that line because I don't want the wall becoming too thin. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Toss out there that after I asked Chris about his Instagram channel, I went immediately to check out Edwin Pipes on Instagram. I don't do anything else today until you have gone to that Instagram channel and see. So he's got some great videos about him making pipes. He's got tons of just gorgeous photography on the pipe shapes. This is one of the better Instagram channels for pipes that I've seen. So I want to encourage you guys to go check that out. But don't buy anything, because I'm going to make my order first.
Thank you. You know what I did is for a while I was just putting some cloth up and putting my pipes on that cloth, and that was fine. But then I went out and I spent $60 on a rather kind of inexpensive photo box, and it just transformed the photos. I'm just taking the photos with my phone, but that photo box has done so much that it's paid for itself in spades already.
What's the proportion of people asking you not only for the pipe, but the pipe stand combined?
I don't follow you. You mean do customers now?
Yeah, sure. Your customers, when they ask you for a pipe, how many of them they normally ask for a pipe stand as well?
Oh, pipe stand. Okay. Not many. Less than 10%. And a lot of times people don't want to pay for them because I have to charge a lot for them. They're very time consuming. And they most of the time they're in love with the pipe and not the pipe and the stand. But every once in a while they'll ask for the pipe stand, and I'm happy to make it. And I kind of undervalue them a little bit. I don't charge as much as I really should have, because I think they look so good in the photos and they really turn heads. So it's almost like I'm paying for that marketing and that advertising in my labor, if you follow me.
Interest of the time that we have left, I want to toss out this other topic. So on your website, which now I understand is maybe a little bit behind the times, you have a whole section of pipes dedicated to Lord of the Rings and Lord of the Rings inspired pipes like that. And there's so many tobacco blends that have been made, named after Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and whatnot. Now I think there's some pipes that really are high-end compatible with those blends. Talk to us a little bit about like that inspiration and where you want to take it, and are you still making those?
Yeah, if you go and look at those pipes, it's a set of 6 pipes, and each pipe is kind of reminiscent of a race of Middle Earth. So, for example, there's a pipe for elves, a pipe for hobbits, a pipe for trolls, a pipe for orcs, a pipe for dwarves, a pipe for men. And it was just kind of a whimsical project, because I'm a little bit of a Lord of the Rings geek. And so I was having fun with it. And I brought it to the Chicago Pipe Show, and you wouldn't believe it. People were lining up to take pictures of it. It was kind of like I say, it was just kind of a whimsical project. And strangely enough, one second, my heat just popped up.
These are places where I was saying before we actually started live streaming that I'm hoping that after today's show, another 1,000 people. Which, by the way, Paul's been very good. Please, like the video and share the video, and then please yourself go over to visit Chris's website and his Instagram channel, because I think well, let me make this disclaimer. I love everybody who we've had on here. Every pipe carver that we've had on here has been just blow my mind. This one, of course, has an aesthetic that I'm really drawn to. So I'm encouraging the other weird people like myself, go and check out Chris's work, and then tell your friends about it.
Resemble that remark.
There we go.
Yeah, getting back to the Lord of the Rings set, though, the 5 of the pipes were smooth pipes, very delicate, very refined, and then there was the orc pipe, which was just hacked and hewn and looked like an orc craftsman would have built it. There were faux cracks in the side that were patched with big brass hunks that were nailed onto the side. And of all the pipes in that set, that pipe became wildly popular. And since then, I've had a lot of customers commission an orc pipe for me.
Is it emery pipes?
Edwin.
Edwin, yeah.
Edwin, okay.
Yeah.
The orc pipes are awesome.
Oh, you've seen them, yeah.
After you were talking with Mr. Levine on his show about him, I had to go look him up. It's just, they're so awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. I was not expecting the reaction I got from those. There's something about the character of that pipe that people go wild for.
Chris, a question on your stands. They
Yeah.
the stands and pipes seem to defy gravity. Are they magnetic or are you just really good at balancing?
Nope, they sit there, just balance there.
Okay, that's quite a talent there.
Well, thank
Another question on inspiration. I love Duluth and been there several times, and just in love with the whole country and the people and the railroad. So, what have you ever done something like take your inspiration from an idea or a place? If you were to do a Northwoods inspired line, or have you done it? And is that enough inspiration for you to get going on another line?
Great question. So if you've been to Duluth, you must be familiar with my town, Grand Marais.
Oh, yes.
Another 2 hours up the coast. Yeah.
Nice port.
Yeah,
nice port.
Yeah, it's a arts community, and so there are a lot of art shops and art galleries here. And there was a local gallery who was displaying my pipes. And what really sells here is local art, using local materials and that sort of thing. And so I was brainstorming, how can I make my pipes local here? And the conclusion I finally came to is, well, I can't. I have to use briar, otherwise they won't smoke well. I have to use ebonite, otherwise, they won't smoke well. They won't turn out to be the pipes that I want to make. But I can make a pipe stand out of local materials. And so I made a couple of pipes with stands from locally sourced materials, cedar wood and some of the rocks from the area. And that was enough to get some of my pieces into some of the local galleries here. But as far as the pipes themselves, I can't really change that up too much without affecting the smokability.
But would the aesthetic of the country inspire you in a different set of lines of pipes?
Gotcha. It has not yet, and that's not to say it won't, because the beauty of this area is powerful. And I have thought about, do I want to carve some of the white pine trees into the side of the pipes? And I've done a little brainstorming of kind of exactly that way. But as of yet, I haven't come across an idea that I'll put into briar just yet.
I'd love to see it. So I'm pushing you. I'm one vote pushing you that direction.
Okay. Noted. I'll give it some thought.
All right.
Chris, I have another maybe off the wall kind of question, if you can think about this. In your artistic exploration and sort of sounds a lot like you were self-taught in a lot of ways of making your pipes. What has not worked? What were some of the ideas that you had that just you couldn't make it happen?
Well, let me think. I mean, there's always shapes and pipes that look one way in your mind, and then after you get halfway through them, you take a look and you just know this will never work. This isn't right. And so I'll either change the shape or set it aside and forget about it. Sometimes, like this one has been sitting here forever. It's just a really big globe with a really narrow shank that's coming out, and I just don't like the shape. This is too bulbous for a delicate shank like that. So I'll put that one aside. If I'm struck with an idea of how to salvage that, then maybe, but my guess is that's going to sit there until the end of time. Let me show you another one I have. So this is kind of a wild shape. What you cannot see on this one is this beautiful green that flows all the way up this whole part of the pipe here. It's just this wild S green that kind of comes up to the tip here. And I was really excited about this piece because the green was so exciting. But what I did is I made this shank so tiny that I think right now there's nothing I can do with it. There'll be this big, large stummel right here with a tiny little shank coming off. So that's the sort of thing that, to answer your question, I come across problems like this every once in a while. So. I guess the latter. I'd like to see them go toward the high end of the collectors. I'd like them to carry a wow factor. I'd like them to be respected in the pipe carving community as good smokers and solid as far as the form and the fit and everything. I'd really like my pipes to be recognized at a glance. If someone just looks at one of my pipes, I want them to be able to say, "Oh, that is an Edwin."
I'm pretty sure you're just about there, man. Because whenever I see one online, I can almost pick it off.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Like Kent's question, have you yet, or if you haven't, why not, bicycle pipes and kayak pipes? I mean, inspired.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I would never do it. One thing I tend to not do is make pipes that look like something else. And for example, like a mini statue of something that's also a pipe. Or, that's a pipe that looks like a tree, or that's a pipe that looks like a kayak. That's not my thing. And I think there are some beautiful pipes out there made by carvers who have done beautiful work doing just that, but that's not my thing. I think what I strive to do is two things: keep the lines flowing. So always flowing lines. And the other thing is make the stem match the stump. And if I can do that with an exciting shape, that's my thing.
You can make like a pipe that looks like a kayak, sort of like the Savinelli autographs, big ones, and a bike pipe stand.
Yeah, I think a bike pipe would be pretty tough. He makes some really exciting pipes. Yeah. Yeah, he does some exciting things.
Chris, I have a technical question for you about bits.
Sure,
Have
Glenn.
you ever experimented with either a P-lip or a nap style bit?
I have not. That's not to say I never will. It's just that I think the market is much smaller for them. My guess is they have their cult followings. And if a customer requested one, it's something I would certainly experiment with. But no, I have not tried them.
So yours have a conventional Y cut for the bit?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the final finishing grit you use before, staining the pipe?
Either 400 or 600. The problem with getting it too smooth is that the dye won't seep in. You've got that glassy finish on the briar that is kind of repellent to the dye. And it's advantageous to have that dye really seep in as far as you can.
And then more prior to waxing?
At that point, I won't be using the sandpaper anymore. I'll be using the buffing wheel. So I think, what is Tripoli? Something like 1200 grit. And then the white diamond is maybe 1500 grit, something like that.
Yeah. Very good. Thanks.
Sure.
Where
I
were
just
the
had a comment.
where were the first places where you started like promoting your pipes, like conventions or clubs or?
The Great Northern Pipe Club I was a member of for a couple of years, so I would bring my pipes there. I think the first pipe I ever sold was at the Great Northern Pipe Club at one of the meetings. The first pipe show that I went to was Chicago. I went back to that many times then. And then, yeah, social media is really kind of it. I mean, you can really get a large audience. Just in the last couple of months, I've gained a few thousand followers on Instagram. I'm up, I think, around 11,000, something like that now. And so with that large of an audience, it's kind of hard to say no to that. So between Facebook and Instagram, that's probably most of my sales now. And I am in the fortunate position where I can't keep anything in stock. So if I can make a pipe, it's turning out that I can sell the pipe.
So Chris, is it basically you make it and someone snatches it off of you, or what's the commission? Do you do commissions or no?
Yeah, great question. Until recently, I was doing commissions, and I was getting just this enormous commission list. And so what was happening is I wasn't able to kind of experiment with my own shapes and do my own thing. I was making everybody else's pipes.
Fair enough.
Which
And
is a great problem. So
what would we be
I turned the commissions off.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
We're just having a little latency, so I thought.
So yeah, I turned the commissions off for at least for a couple months because I want to make a couple of my own designs again.
Yeah. So when are your, sorry, I just want to add part 1A to the question is like, what are you expecting in a range if we're gonna like try and grab one of those pipes that you're presenting nowadays?
Right now, the price on my pipes, depending on the outcome, is kind of in that $600 to $800 range.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Chris, on your website, and again, this will probably change now, you say that if someone sees a pipe design in your gallery that they like, to ask if you could make that. Is that part of like turning off the commissions, or as long as it's your design, you'd be able to make one?
Yeah, probably I should go back on that and change that now that I turned off the commissions. So I don't want to mislead anybody. So, but I plan to do commissions again in a few more months. But right now, I just needed to catch up a little bit, and I really wanted to make a few of my own designs. Temporarily, I've shut them off.
Got it. Well, I'm sorry, I have to keep going back and forth and turning on my microphone. I was speaking earlier, and all the guys over there on YouTube and Facebook said, "You have no sound." So I think we'll all support you in whatever you make, brother, because you make some awesome stuff. We've got about another 10 minutes in the meeting today. So for those of you who are over there on Facebook and live stream, and Facebook and YouTube rather, got questions? Post them in the comments there. I'll pass them along. One question that did come in: Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do not. No.
So all of Chris's YouTube comments will apparently have to come through the Virtual Pipe Club. So we'll take care of that for you. Here's a good one. I don't know why any of us haven't thought to ask. What's your favorite shape to make?
Good question. For a long time I was making bent apples. It's the first pipe I ever make. It's probably my favorite, one of my favorites to smoke. But now, just in the last couple of months, I've been very successful with my own shapes. The dragon shape is very fun, but it can be meticulous and time consuming. But the elephant shield is also doing very well and getting a lot of attention. So I would have to say it comes down between the dragon and the elephant shield. They're both just a ton of fun to make. The elephant shield is kind of interesting because it will show beautiful bird's eye as well as just a wonderful straight grain. So you kind of get the best of both worlds there with that shape.
I was gonna ask something I like, David, if you have other clients who ask you for classic shapes instead, and which ones were your favorites?
Well, of the classics, Bulldog is always nice. No, a shape that I never used to like until the Kansas City pipe carving contest, the year that they had the author shape. I never was so crazy about the author shape until I saw some of the pipes coming out of that contest. And now I think the author is one that I really like to make and to smoke and really enjoy the aesthetics of.
Paul the Piper over on YouTube is asking if you have an apprentice to pass along your skills to.
I don't have an apprentice, but I'm constantly getting questions from people who are just starting with their pipe making journey. And when I think back to the support that I got from some of the people who have done, been in it longer than I had, I'm happy to share my knowledge. So if they want to reach out to me and ask questions, by all means, through Instagram, through email, through Facebook, I'm happy to answer questions.
Have you have any other artisans or pipe artisans who are starting, who went to your shop to learn from you?
No, I'm kind of 1,000 miles from nowhere up here in the middle of the Superior National Forest. So it's a little hard to get to, but I wouldn't be opposed to having someone come to the shop and showing them the ropes.
Chris, I have a question. When you were talking about your shaping wheel, I have the similar Jeff Allen wheel and Graysick wheel. And I'm just curious, when you do the initial rough shaping, right from after you've got the block ready to go, you said like 60 grit or something. Are you just using, that's all you're using? Just something like, you're not using like a resin kind of paper or anything, just like a rough 60 grit on that wheel?
Yeah, I'll start with the 60 grit just to get rid of a lot of the wood. That's the really bulk stuff that's on the outside. And after that, I think it's the 120 I go down to, where I really start the more serious shaping. You're not going to finesse it with the 120, but you can get pretty darn close with that 120 grit.
Cool. Yep.
And that 60 grit is not on a J. Allen wheel. That's just on a kind of a run-of-the-mill Ace Hardware wheel.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because I know someone was telling me you want to have that, like you don't want any of that soft cushion in the back of that when you're taking out that heavy grit with that
exactly
paper, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, that would be fun. This is a great group.
Thanks a lot, Chris. I really
you.
enjoy your pipes, and thanks
Thank
for
you,
spending
Chris.
your time with us.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
I want to thank all you guys too, because as a carver, it really kind of keeps the wind in somebody's sail to know that there are people out there who appreciate my work as well. So thank you.
Nice.
Run our group on Facebook. We can talk to you.
Could I ask a
Once again, I forgot to turn my. Once again, I forgot to turn my microphone on. I was so for those of you who are watching there on Facebook and YouTube, sorry about that. I've recently moved, and I'm in a temporary spot right here out in the smoking shed, and we haven't yet set up all of the tech equipment that I had in the old studio, which was really working well. We'll get there. We'll get there soon. What I was saying is that I would really love to have Chris come back and be our guest again, and he very graciously said yes. So we'll have a chance to meet and talk with Chris again. Chris, I just have one more thing, and that is I hope that your mind trips and falls into committing to go to the Chicago Pipe Show, because I'm going, and there'll be a bunch of others from this group who are also going, and we'd love to hook up with you there, man, and maybe hang out.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. As I was saying, even if I don't have some pipes to bring, I think the real value with the Chicago Pipe Show is meeting the collectors and schmoozing with other carvers, that sort of thing. So there's a very strong chance I'll be.
All right. Well, on that note, let me once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Chris, for being our guest today. Thank you, David Martinez, for the suggestion about bringing Chris and for making an initial contact with him and telling him we'd love to have him as a guest.
ask question, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just beginning. I've only made one pipe from a stumble. But where does one buy decent quality briar? Washington has some strange laws about tobacco and tobacco products, and so I have to buy off the net. And where's a good place to shop for briar?
Where I get virtually all of my briars from a guy named Steve Norse, and the company is called Vermont Freehand. And he's a pipe carver himself, just a super guy. And if you go onto his website, he has not only briar, but all kinds of tools and everything you need for pipe making. It's kind of a fun site to just go on and look around.
Thank you. I've been to his site, but there are other sites, and so I just don't know who to trust.
Yeah, he's very good. Raw Crafted is another one. Very reliable, very good site. Raw Crafted in Vermont Freehand.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And Darkon, if you want to ever send someone a pipe when you start making them, I'm your man, brother. Have a good weekend, everyone.
All right.
Thank you, Paul. So, having said that, let me thank Paul the Piper again for helping us out over there on YouTube, and for everybody who's come to the meeting this week. I love you guys. You're the best part of my week, man. So we'll see you next week.
Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you, Chris.
Take care. God bless.
Thank you, Chris.
for coming.
Take care.
See you guys.
Yes.